Lord of Mysteries just keeps pulling us deeper. This week we saw the Nighthawk shaken by loss, Klein chasing down terrifying new clues, and a glimpse at the spirit world itself. But just as the madness builds, new players start to reveal themselves and the stakes feel higher than ever. In this video, I'm going to run through the biggest moments that stood out, break down some theory corrections and new revelations episode 10 gives us, and then spend some time talking about where this weekly anime-only review series is headed, along with a discussion on the fandom of Lord of Mysteries itself. So make sure to stay until the end of the video for that anime-only perspective, because the story is only getting darker, stranger, and more fascinating with each passing week. Episode 10 opens on a somber note, and you can really feel the weight pressing down on the Nighthawks. The office that was once filled with warmth now sits in silence, carrying the sorrow of old Neil's absence. For Klein, that silence cuts even deeper, remembering all the time spent with Neil and the fond memories he had with him. Amid this atmosphere, Klein receives a note from Isaac, who has decided to depart and search for more answers. Even that farewell feels heavy, like another piece of stability being pulled away. Before Klein can fully process it, Dunn steps in with a warning. A wanted Beyonder is on the loose, and in the same breath we get an important piece of lore. When Beyonders lose control and die, the twisted aftermath of their fall can result in the creation of artifacts. It's a really fascinating detail. The very tools Beyonders rely on can be born from the downfall of those who came before, a cycle of power built on tragedy. Dunn continues to push Klein, telling him he has to steel himself if he wants to stay in control. To help him, Dunn assigns a Sequence 6 spirit guide. This leads into Klein at home experimenting with the whistle Isaac gave him. What he summons is something we saw a glimpse of back in episode 6. Isaac's messenger, this time less of a battle summon or a Susanoo, and more of a servant who reacts instantly to danger, disappearing just as Klein's new teacher approaches. That teacher turns out to be Dali, once a Sequence 7 spirit medium. She has advanced to Sequence 6, and it's her job now to guide Klein. The dynamic between them feels natural, teacher and student, and Dali introduces him to two new core skills. The first is summoning a messenger of his own. The second, a form of spirit communication that directly echoes what she used on him all the way back in episode 1. Mid-lesson, the tension breaks, Dunn suddenly appearing in Klein's window, a full-on jump scare that got me to actually laugh out loud. But there isn't much room for levity. Dunn and Klein's investigation takes them to a mental asylum where they confront Hood Eugen, a Sequence 7 psychiatrist on the Spectator pathway. On the surface, he's a regular citizen. In reality, he's teetering on madness. Klein immediately gets to put Dali's teachings to use, using spirit communication to dive into Hood Eugen's mind. The visuals here are striking, witnessing the fractured chaos inside his thoughts. In the middle of it, he uses a technique we saw earlier from the Sequence 7 seer in episode 3, that weird display of the multiple mouths and voices speaking all at once. I do wish the show here gave us more detail on what exactly this ability is, but it seems like Klein is either shielding himself from direct corruption by not engaging one-on-one, or amplifying his questions to force clearer answers out of Eugen's mind. Either way, the effect is chilling. What follows is a disjointed landscape of horror that carries the fingerprints of the true creator, and for a moment it nearly pulls Klein under. You can feel how close he comes to losing himself completely in that madness. This episode also widened the scope of Tengen in a way that felt way overdue. For the first time we meet other members of the town society, including Sharon Koi. Her design, her aura, everything about her practically radiates danger, and while she doesn't do much here, she's the type of character who leaves an impression the moment she appears. The episode's final stretch only expands that momentum. We cut to the Tarot Club, where Alger seeks help tracking down one of the 7 pirate admirals, Vice Admiral Hurricane Kilangos. That name alone sounds ripped straight out of a shonen lineup, and yeah, I don't know about you, but I couldn't help but think of One Piece admirals in that moment. But just as quickly, another surprise lands. A new member enters the Tarot Club. The episode ends with the introduction of Derek Berg, who chooses the Sun Tarot card as his alias. It sparks a whole new wave of questions about the Tarot Club itself and what role this gathering is truly meant to play. Hey there, looks like you've been caught in Dio Stan the World. While time's frozen, don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe so you never miss any future content. Alright, time's up, back to the video. Before we dive into the new theories this episode gives us, I need to clear up some confusion from the last video. A lot of people in the comments thought I didn't realize old Neil explicitly named the one whispering to him the Hidden Sage. I did know that. My speculation was about who or what the Hidden Sage actually is. I realized I wasn't as clear as I thought. My confirmed theory in that video wasn't tied to the Hidden Sage, that part was pure speculation. What I was actually saying is that old Neil went berserk because of a high high sequence mystery prior, and I tied that back to the idea of my broader theory about Klein's personality being altered by the pathway he chose. The hidden sage speculation came from me putting the pieces together. If the higher a sequence you climb, the closer you get to wielding godlike power, then it's not impossible for someone in the mystery prior pathway to have already ascended into full deityhood. In episode 8, during the Tarot Club meeting, Augur mentions that the Aurora Order, the Element Dawn, the Psychological Alchemist, all these organizations came into light only in the last 200 or 300 years. Combine that with the show literally hammering us from the very start of the first episode that high sequence beyonders are basically god tier beings, and the picture becomes clear. It seems extremely likely these groups are following high sequence figures who amassed entire followings simply based on their power, and in time were seen as gods themselves. That's where my hidden sage idea comes from, a mystery prior who transcended into deityhood. Pulling strings from the shadows, that's the angle I was getting at with Neil's death, and I needed to clarify that. Now my confirmed theory about Klein being manipulated by his pathway stands even stronger. Some people got heated in the comments, saying I was stretching because I pointed to the clown from episode 3's final words Hornacious echoing in Klein's head, but let me stress this again, I'm in anime only. Up until episode 8, I hadn't seen a single one of Neil's mysticism classes. Episode 9 made it painfully clear, practically beating us over the head over and over again with foreshadowing about higher sequence beyonders. And on top of that, the only seer we've seen on screen so far, the Sequence 7 back in episode 3, when his dying words are the same ones echoing in Klein's head, pushing him toward choices he wouldn't make otherwise, altering him, it's not a stretch. It's confirmation that Klein is being reshaped by the pathway he chose. Two separate points in the story both hammering the same idea. That's enough evidence for me. Now let's move into the new theories episode 10 opens up. First off, Sharon Koi, I think it's painfully obvious she's tied to the Demonist sect. If you go back to the Triss episode, the jewelry she wears is identical to the hooded figure who handed Triss the Sequence 7 recipe. It actually might be the same outfit minus the hood. If that's the case, her sudden appearance raises a lot of questions. Why reveal herself now? Demonist sect members usually thrive in the shadows. Has she lost her allies, or is this part of a larger play that forces her into the open? Then we get to Derek Berg, the newest member of the Tarot Club, and this is where things get a little exciting. I hate to risk confirming another theory and setting people off again, but this one feels too clear to ignore. Back in episode 6, when Klein received the Sequence 4 recipe for the Sun Pathway, I said it was only a matter of time before he summoned someone who would end up tied to the Sun Pathway, and now Derek chooses the Sun as his alias. I would bet my left leg he'll either eventually become a Beyonder on the Sun Pathway, or he may already be one. I'm leaning toward him being more like Justice right now, not yet a Beyonder, but someone Klein is destined to guide down that road. Derek's introduction also cracks open an even bigger lore question, his background. The City of Silver seems directly connected to the Forsaken Lands we've heard whispers about, but the detail that really stuck out to me is that Klein couldn't really even understand him at first. Does that mean Derek exists in a completely different era? Or is his City of Silver a place lost in time, sealed off from the world the rest of the cast knows? The subtitles don't really give us a definitive answer. Klein eventually adjusts and he can sort of pick up his words, but the implication is massive. And it makes me wonder how the dub will handle it. Will Derek's speech be portrayed like a different language entirely, or will it come across more like a strange dialect? In true Lord of Mysteries fashion, episode 10 left me with more questions than answers. What is the true role of the Tarot Club? How far does Sharon's influence stretch? And just how important will Derek's path as the Sun become? I want to take a moment here to speak directly to you, the Lord of Mysteries community, and about the future of this series. Listen, I was around during the days of the Jujutsu Kaisen leaks when every new raw scan would get spoiled on Twitter and you had to block half of the dictionary just to keep the story intact. And after our last video, I don't know if we attracted a new wave of people who've never seen one of these anime-only deep dives before, but the negativity was overwhelming, specifically from novel readers. There were easily over 40 comments that got flagged and held because they weren't theories or critiques, they were straight up spoiler dumps. Page-long breakdowns of what's going to happen, written out in full detail. And I just don't get it. Why try so hard to take the fun out of other people discovering this story? Personally, I don't mind if I get spoiled. Somehow I've managed to avoid anything major, but I really don't want someone clicking on one of my videos, excited to join in on the conversation, only to have the plot ruined in the comments section because someone replied to their comment. Because of that, from here on out, I'll be posting a disclaimer comment at the top of every video. Unfortunately, I know the fun police will still show up help regardless, but I'd like to make a call to action. If you want to help moderate the comments, please either send me a DM on Twitter or just drop the word moderate in the comments, nothing else, that way I can spot it easily. Now on to some further unfortunate news. Our last video was hit with a copyright claim days after it went up. I always edit in a way that should avoid issues, but this time I believe episode 9's visuals triggered a claim. All of the other videos in this series are fine, but it does raise questions about the future. As much as I love making these videos, I've had this channel for years and it's not worth losing everything to copyright. If claims keep happening, I may need to look into re-uploading these somewhere else, maybe Patreon. It's really the only platform that makes sense for archiving. On top of that, I've been thinking about setting up a Discord if there's enough interest. I haven't been active in one since 2022. But I think it'd be a great way to keep in touch with all of you Lord of Mysteries and Ken Works fans if anything ever happens with the channel. And finally, I just want to take this time to spotlight some of the loyal commenters who have been here not only for the Lord of Mysteries videos, but my other anime uploads as well. Your kind words and consistency mean more than you know. The loudest voices are often the negative ones, but I never want to forget the overwhelming positivity that's actually driving this community forward. This episode left me feeling a mix of emotions. The grief of old Neil's absence is still heavy, and you can see it in every frame with the Nighthawks. But Lord of Mysteries doesn't sit still. It keeps layering in new dangers, new allies, and new questions. Hood Eugen gave us a terrifying look at what happens when a Beyonder fully loses themselves. Dali's mentorship opened the door to skills that will be vital for Klein, and the Tarot Club expanded in a way that feels like it could reshape the entire story. What I keep coming back to though is how carefully this series balances its weight. We're only 10 episodes in and already death and madness are themes so firmly cemented you can't ignore them. Yet at the same time, the world keeps opening wider, hints of other organizations, new powers, and a possible city lost to time. It's that duality, despair pulling down but mystery pulling outward, that makes this anime feel so unique. And as a anime only viewer, that's what excites me the most. Every week the puzzle grows and all I can do is keep connecting the pieces as they fall into place. So if this ends up being our last video, thank you for watching up to this point, and hopefully catch you in the next one.